my reading. So anyway, hopefully you can hear it now. Just wanted to let you know you are looking at some tremendous changes underway right now. So whenever you find this, it's again only relevant for those that are finding it at the time that they need it. And what I'm seeing here is these are the kind of the clarifiers below. The deck I'm using is Star Codes Astro Oracle, Heather Rowan Robbins, and it's not a deck that I use very often, but I'm actually liking it more and more the more frequently I use it. So what I'm seeing here is that you are undergoing a tremendous change, and I feel like this is going to be affecting you on a multitude of levels. I will refer to the book on this one just because I don't use this deck very often. I generally just do the tarot, but this is about you being in a state of inner chaos to a certain degree, but you're being shifted into something new. So it's like one gear gets out of the way the card refers to it is one gear goes out of out of gear, and then it affects the next and the next and the next, and that's how it escalates into the state of chaos. But that's because you are undergoing a complete a complete revolution of sorts, basically. So, this is where your old assumptions are being broken apart. Your ideas about the world and life at large are going to be metamorphosizing, including your idea of relationships, your financial assumptions. All of that is going to be tested. You're going to see things from a new angle. So, sorry, allergies. Anyway, but this is also, affecting you on cultural assumptions. So again, it's really uprooting you on a significant basis. And I feel like, this is where you're going through a period of introspection and trying to redefine the things that are around you. So the climate may not feel very comfortable at this time, but you are, dealing with a lot of things that are around your roots, your foundation. You're looking back, but you're also looking forward because you're dealing with your resources and you're trying to make some changes in your immediacy. But the whole point of this is to keep your vision. So, again, I mean, when you're looking at this particular card, it does reference action, and the action is surprise or be surprised. So, in other words, take control of the surprises that are coming into you and be ready to shift gears. So, that requires a certain amount of anticipation in how you're going forward. So, if you know that a bill is coming through, don't be surprised when it gets there. Take into consideration, this is just an example, but taking into consideration something that is going to, come in at the wrong time. It always seems to come in at the wrong time. So when you are trying to go forward, consider all of the elements that are likely to get in the way of your moving forward and changing. So again, this is also time to kind of experiment and try that fresh approach, to see everything in a new way. It is also where your life is about to kind of scatter a whole bunch of seeds and grow, and you want to make sure that wherever they're being scattered, you want to be there to water them all so that they can all grow. And you still want to be in control of the weeds. So, the only way to do that is and this card does sort of represent there being a fair amount of anxiety around you at this time, inner anxiety that you're dealing with. So I feel like the root cause is that you're trying to change your world in a really significant way. To solve that problem, you feel like you need to implement the change faster, and you're seeing things around you as a bit of a disaster because they're not really moving in the direction that you'd hoped for. But it is also being aware that, when things look like a disaster, it can also bring in an opportunity that you weren't really expecting. So you could be thrown some kind of a sudden change or some kind of a sudden, you know, um, a bit of chaos or a gear out of whack here in this next short little while. But realize that this is also propelling you into a different direction for you to be able to see another opportunity in the situation. So you do want to lead with and able to transform. You want to be in touch with your authentic self. You don't want to be putting on airs, being someone you're not, that kind of thing. You want to be able to, be true to who you are and not change to fit the climate around you at this time anyway. That may change further out, but right now you want to be authentic to you. So you want to use an approach that is going to upgrade you in some way. So again, it's anticipating some of the points that may be coming in so that the gear, doesn't surprise you. You know that it's coming, and so therefore you've kind of planned for it, and the shock of it is a less of a chaotic situation and more of a prepared for change, so that you can kind of transform around it so it's less discomfort, less unnerving, all of that. But chaos again is also where it creates a catalyst. It helps you to sort of get out of your head. So if you were feeling stuck before, sometimes the chaos or the drama is around you to sort of propel you forward and keep you moving. So this is also where you are developing new skills or acquiring new skills, or that is going to be a requirement here, and able to embrace this change. So again, the challenge of this card of Uranus is that you may feel like you are out of control and something is, chaotically spinning within you, and there's a lot of anxiety, and that you, for all the efforts that you're doing, you don't feel like you're moving ahead. But the gift of this card is that you can prepare for some kind of huge leap that you're going to be, embarking on, and it will be something that's going to shock you, that's going to it's going to force you to, use your gifts. So if you haven't tapped into those gifts, you're going to have to dig for them pretty quick and pretty deep, and able to help you to transform into what's going to push you forward into something really big. And again, that is going to be something that is going to be a huge transformation. So I feel like you're still in that caterpillar state, is what the card indicates, where you're still internally trying to figure out your resources, figure out how to go forward. It's all the things that you need to sort of build up the foundations, really what's happening there. Because again, this is that second house of resources is all about trying to create a map, trying to build up the bank. It's trying to create some warehouses of some things that you actually can fall back on. And this is also, and again, really focused on your relationship to the material world. So that's where you're at right now. Again, really focused very much so on internal resources that you can build on. And that's what you need to focus on, is building on the resources that you have not yet tapped into. What are your skill levels that you can advance? How can you increase your knowledge in some area? So it's not just using current resources to kind of make a big change. It's also about building up your own resources within, to be able to map out a course of action so that you actually do have, so you're exploring that area about money, resources, tangible things in the world, foundation. But it's also that you have some mixed feelings about money and abundance. You're wanting it, and at the same time, there's a discomfort around it. So you want the resources, but something has to change within you. You have to tap into some skill level that you have not yet tapped into, and able to build that. So it's kind of an approach avoidance conflict, is what the card indicates. So it's really hard for you to focus your efforts because you're over here feeling a lot more chaotic. But if you did focus your efforts by looking at the interests that you have and trying to develop a skill level around those interests, you would see that you will not be stuck in this hard to focus zone, and you won't have mixed messages, because you will be responding to the universe that's telling you focus on a particular area that will help you to build up your resources. It's already within you. And so that's the part that you're not seeing. You're looking at things external to you. You're hoping something will change external to you to kind of make you feel like you matter, or that something is going to appear external to you to make the change. But it's not. It's something that has to come internal. You have to build up something internally and able to make that, blossom or change your attitude going forward. So that you are your number one resource, is what I would say there. And again, you're looking for a place of balance because you're in this chaotic energy over here. But again, it's just sort of the wheel turning here. So, and able to get into this space and tap into resources, you have to start organizing yourself differently. pay bills, be more practical, save on a regular basis. It's things along that line, things that have to kind of align with your inner purpose. It's not just taking each challenge as it comes. It's about really preparing for it, and you need to be more in that space. Create more structure in your life so that you can actually feel like you have enough to go forward and that you can actually make a dent ahead of you. So again, creating more structure, creating more order, using your skills, your resources, and that's based on your interests. And that's what the gift of the card is, because it's going to create an intention around you that'll help you to benefit. And so then we get to the card of communication, and that's the third house. So that card is very much in line. Again, they're just kind of one precedes the other. So, because we did go from the 40 and then we're up to the 41 here. So I feel like, again, that foundation is creating the map. This is the area where you need to, sorry, figure out how you're learning something, how you're communicating, and you need to really focus on your connections with your relationships and how you communicate there, because somehow along the line here, that environment, and again, it's right by the climate card, which is all about the environment here as well, because you need to check those lines of communication and your thinking process, because you have to repair anything that is a technical glitch, and that goes for problems that are being created. Are you creating more problems with your communication? That's what I'm trying to say here. Are you creating more difficulty for yourself than you need to? So this is that space where you need to try to understand messages that are being communicated to you. Try to understand it at a deeper level instead of just a reaction. Also, trying to communicate better in a way that is more advantageous to you. So you want to repair any areas of miscommunication, and as well, that would also be communicating to yourself in a way that is seems to be around your roots. So could be in around family, could be in around areas of anything that you consider your foundation. That's where there seems to be miscommunication. So again, it's taking a look at your communication in your own house, so to speak. And it's also, changing the quality of your thinking. It's because your root is all the things that are around. You have to repair the glitches over here. You're in a state of chaos here, and you have to create more order, tap into your own resources, create more structure for yourself, and be more. There'll be less problems if you communicate more effectively, and try not to create more problems for yourself with the way in which you're communicating. So this is creating a mental muscle to improve the quality of your communication and learning new ways to express yourself, and as well listening for others' true intentions versus what you think is actually being communicated to you. So just because we have a bias around a certain relationship or connection doesn't mean the way what's communicated is accurate because we've interpreted it that way. Start to listen more unbiased is what I would say there, because communication seems to be part of the thing that's holding you back here for whenever you find this message. So again, it's investigating some of those early relationships that you have as well, and how you have formed a mental habit around something that's affecting the present moment. So this is something that you want to be aware of as well. So it's checking in again with friends and family, being aware of how you're communicating with them, because it is going to create a chain effect or a train effect. So if if you're communicating in a positive way and not from a shadow side, then you can expect others to be more mutually encouraging here as well. But if you're communicating with hostility or a challenging frame of mind, then you're also creating more shadow energy for yourself, which will be dealt with in the same way. Sorry, guys, I have like huge conversation issues right now. Anyway, communication for myself. Okay, getting into the 12th house. So this is about introspection. Actually, let me just drink the coffee. Give me 2 seconds here. That'll help me to clear my throat. Okay, so we are into the 12th house, which is introspection. So again, you're in a quiet place right now for the most part. I feel like you might be taking a look at your kind of the inner child sort of self, wanting to escape the monsters over here and the chaos and the drama of the world. The things that you haven't quite dealt with are sort of coming up. but it is requiring your introspection. So you have to look at the situation. It is very complex. It's going to take some time to be able to learn how to deal with each scene, each private motive, each private monster, each hidden enemy that you are considering as an enemy. You have to look for that, and listen within and try to spend time developing, how to better communicate with those aspects of ourself. Even with the shadow self, it's not that we need to abandon our dark side, it's more how do we make it work for us. So the action here is to introspect, and the situation again is more complex because you are having to go behind the scenes before you act on something. So you really have to look at your own private motives. Who are your foundational people? How do you communicate with them? How do you communicate with yourself? You need to bring things back into alignment because one gear is throwing the next gear out of place and then the next gear. So that's throwing you back into a space of introspection. So again, you need to really look at your, hidden self and the things that, and developing, that time alone, going into nature to ground yourself, that kind of thing. Changing the scenes around you, just for some space, taking a drive, looking at water, whatever it is for you. Meditation and helping to kind of reconnect with you is what I would say here, because I think that's going to bring you back to more of a loving self. Because when you can take care of yourself, you can take care of others, and you'll be more compassionate toward those around you. And when you're more compassionate, you also line yourself up with people that will eventually be more compassionate. Now, there's always going to be that period of, if you've been in chaos with these people or with this situation for a certain period of time, there is going to be a certain level of adjustment period. So it's not all going to, if you're compassionate immediately, others will not necessarily be compassionate right back, because it's going to take some time for them to trust that you are, trusting yourself more. Otherwise, you feel that someone could take, a very erratic turn in a mood and that kind of thing, and that doesn't really evoke more trust in a situation or to want to communicate more regularly. So if you see somebody consistently enough in a particular way, they're acting from their authentic self. And if you see them act out of character in a particular mood, then that's out of characteristic. And so therefore, they're not acting authentically. So it's not really who you're dealing with. If it's a difficult time for someone, you know that it will pass. But when you're dealing with somebody who's authentic, that is somebody, and including for yourself, that's what you're searching for here. That means that you're more consistently acting from a place of confidence and compassion and understanding, listening to be understood as well as to understand another. So when you can understand another, you'll see that other people, that energy is reciprocated. Because right over here, you're throwing one gear out of the next to the next to the next. So it's all around your communication seems to be the issue. And again, self to others is a part of that. So again, look for your private motives, the things that you need to develop inside, listen within. This is the area where you need to look to figure out, like you're one cell in the cell of a full system. So when you think about it that way, I mean, we are part of one. We are part of the universe. We are part of the sun. We have all of those elements. We can stay to the areas that are more of a shadow side, or we can gravitate to the things that are more positive. Life still will always have the problems, but if you're gravitating toward more of the positive or more of the grounding and lightening sort of experiences and growth and expansion, then you actually have more resources available to you. So that's where you need to sort of aim for, is seeing that you're only one cell in a part of a whole system. So if you want to connect with another system that has more of an advantage for you, then you need to develop a certain type of thinking and able to move into that space. So again, it's, we are part of the divine, and the divine expects us to take care of ourselves and able to connect one cell to another. So you have to honor yourself. You have to look at what you bring to the table and realize that what you are is and that will be the authentic you. What you are is what you believe in. So that will always change over time as we evolve. But at this point in time, you want to look at caring for yourself, look at how you think about things. Try to soften the way that you communicate with yourself, which will in turn communicate that same to the expression outside of yourself, when you connect with the world. So when you take more of a compassionate approach to yourself, you will also take more of a compassionate approach outside of that. So you're here to do what you were born to do, is what the card really says. And that is you being clear and true and being Disrespectful to yourself is not the way to build on oneness. And able to, if you're over identifying with any one group, if you're over identifying with a certain group or over identifying with a certain part of yourself, to the sacrifice of another part of yourself, this makes you feel stuck. It's a painful place to feel stuck, isolated, and not able to expand. So you want to grow, you want to expand, and the only way to do that is to actually have more of a connection to yourself, and in doing so, that will help you to ground yourself, which would then in return returns you to your personal path. So again, the challenge of this card is that it can be hard to find that healthy balance between, you know, all the chaos. How do you align all the gears back into check? How you do that is by not stunting yourself. It's by not isolating yourself. But first, you might need to isolate, but then you need to face your fears in this space over here. And that means saying to yourself, meditating, realizing that everybody's got problems and it's not, and we're all suffering in different ways with a lot of the same human elements. There could be elements of rejection that we feel. There could be elements where we don't feel we're good enough. There could be elements where we're all, and it doesn't matter what the level of that you come to in terms of your finances. Everybody is still in that space. These are all human elements, human conditions. Doesn't matter if you are if you're undergoing some kind of a change. Again, you need to realign the gears, and that means reversing the process. So if you were tearing yourself down here and, miscommunicating or taking people's words in a miscommunicated way because of the way that you were thinking of yourself, then you need to heal yourself first. You need to heal yourself by, building up yourself, taking care of yourself, and in turn, that finds that compassion that you feel for yourself will also show more compassion into the world here as well. So again, you're not alone. It may feel that way right now, but you're not alone. You are connected to source first, and that will help you to find your connection, and then you will then eventually find your connection to the world. And again, it will change, but you can either take the hard path and stay in the lower energy of opposition, or you can take the higher path and gradually expand and grow through the pain, and that will help you to find the right climate. And that's what the transit is. This is where you're moving into that space where you're seeing things spinning all around you, and you can either go right, left, up, down, however. But again, the choice is still yours. So you can move in a way that is, congruent with expanding and growing yourself and compassionate to yourself and looking after yourself, or you can take on that approach of not being centered, not nurturing yourself, and that way you'll always be in that state of flux. Everything is a hardship. Everything has to be pushed through. Everything is difficult. So when you show more compassion to yourself, you'll show more compassion to others. So again, this card speaks to a story that's kind of around your home front. Again, it's also dealing with aspects of it within. That is also a part of the home front, and you're trying to center that story. So once you center your home front, inside, internally, or it could be the climate around you, externally within that family area, you're going to start to see that when you take good care of yourself and you move things in without pushing hard and actually developing yourself, you're going to see that the world changes. So when you start nurturing yourself, this is going to help you to sprawl out into the other areas of the house. So think of it as you're in one room of the house, it could be the bedroom, and once you start to feel who you are, remember who you are, and you show more compassion, all of a sudden you can explore the next section of the house, which is, maybe the kitchen, and feeding yourself. And so think of it as the corners of a room or the corners of a house. You want to deal with the aspects of how you expand or grow, and that can be, as I said, going into an area that you consider your library, or a space where you feel like you exercise, or space. So there's different elements to your house that you can move into once you learn how to nurture yourself. So take a look at the part of the house that you spend predominant amount of energy in, and maybe that's the place that you need to focus the most energy first. Sorry, but it does mean staying alert and responding to whatever opportunities to grow or expand, because your conditions are changing. But right now, it's almost like there's too much chaos and you can't really find the order. And so you need to find the order first before you advance into these other rooms. So again, it feels like you're not feeling like you're in control of the elements, but you can still make the most of the changes that you are around. So dance with those changes. Find a way to make things a happier climate for yourself. And maybe it has to start externally and then moves into the internal, but usually internal is your more lasting change. But sometimes people have to be more physically active and able to create a change around them or create the momentum. So, however that, resonates for you. So, you walk into your life in a space where you have to be in relationship with yourself and able to have longer relationships with others. And this is sort of that space of teaching you a valuable lesson so that you really need to, you can turn down the volume when you're hearing things that you're not comfortable with or don't know how to handle it, and then you can turn it up gradually as you need to learn to handle it. So again, this is life showing you that you have options all around you. You have rooms all around you, but you have to respond by changing your circumstances within you first because you are the wild card. This is the part where you realize you don't control all the elements, even though you want a strong level of control and able to move forward. But this is about life is a bit of a circus, and you have to move into it by not trying to control other people. We have to learn to control ourselves. And then it's more of an energy around you can choose to deal with certain people or choose not to, but you have to let them always be who they are. They will all come to their own lessons in their own time frame. So if you're in a state of chaos, the universe is trying to get you to grow and expand in a very rapid way because you do have something to contribute. And the point is this is the game. This is the game. How do you stop the gears from going erratically so that you can cultivate a path forward? And again, with you, I feel it's going to start with communication to self, communication to family, communication. Your foundation is what is which is where you need to start here because it's the climate that's just immediately around you. It's the room that you're in that you need to sort of heal first. And as I said, and tapping into resources within yourself, building on skills. That's how you're going to do this. These are the sort of the two main aspects that I see are the big factors, and that will change the climate around you. So keep to the vision. So whether you know what the vision is here or not, if you are starting out here to look at self, it will start with your interests. So it'll be the things with your interests, what you believe is true in the world, what is important for you to change. This is the things that you want to look at. And even writing it down somehow gives us a sense of committing to something. Don't have to spread it around and tell people. But when you're looking at a vision, it's true for you. So again, you could be dealing with a Pisces or a water sign, but it certainly could be just you connecting with you. But this is that energy of sparking up some kind of um, moving into that psychic kind of connection here, very much relying on your imagination and again, meditating, resting, dreaming, that kind of thing. That's the space that I feel that you're in. And this is where you will activate that part of yourself that is going to bring things back into alignment. That will help you to manifest what you're looking for. So you have to tap into the intuition. You have to go into nature. You have to ground yourself. You have to do it in the ways that you feel is your happy space, and bring yourself back to once you're in the happy space, that's when you start to allow your imagination to flourish and to bring about some area of dealing or playing with rather hopes and fears. So don't look at your hopes and fears as dealing with, look at them as playing with those hopes and fears. What if my fear is this? And if I played around with it in this way, how will I overcome that fear? So if I took one small step in the direction of that fear, I will develop a certain level of confidence. And then the next step leads to another level of confidence because you're achieving in small incremental ways. So that way you won't feel like you're so much walking into a fog. This will be where you actually start to see the future because you're just getting lost in the fears and, hoping for something. So again, I feel like in this space you think the world is too hard. It's been overwhelming. You've been very sensitive to the worry and to the things that, you're very sensitive to your surroundings. I feel like you're also soaking up a lot of the negative energy. So if there's a lot of negative energy around you, then take yourself into spaces where there's more positive energy. It doesn't mean you have to cut everything off that's negative, because again, some of that foundation might be the things that encourage you to grow. But it's knowing when you're too negative or in too heavy a space to take yourself into more of a positive surrounding so that you can feel more centered. So again, this is where you want to float. This is where you want to swim. This is where you want to see the vision. This is where you don't want to be separated from your soul and all of the foundation. This is where you want to be able to tap into, like I said, that space that helps to ground you. So remember your vision. That's what it's saying. Remember your vision. Remember who you are and what you came here to do. On a practical level, it definitely speaks to expressing yourself in a way as well that is healthy for you. And again, whether that's through art, something like that. And I remember there's some kind of, and art could be writing, it could be anything, but there was some kind of an expression that was God shows itself in art. So something to that effect. So just be mindful of things like that. Like I said, your things that are around you, you can either use to inspire you and grow, or you can use it to identify with your fears and hold you down. So that's what I would say there. So keep moving forward, Cancer. You have a lot to look forward to. You just need to get grip of yourself. And I feel when that happens, you're going to see rapid change. So again, introspection, center your foundation, your source of connection here to self, as well as those around you. And your immediate climate could be around, like I said, the family surrounding or something that you consider to be your roots, because this is an area here again that is where it's a strong central point, right? So this is still looking at your roots, looking at what makes you feel at home or secure. You need to balance that out. This is looking at traditions. This is, what are the assumptions that you're making underlying a situation that you're miscommunicating to yourself about. So if you enjoyed something in your childhood, focus on that to be able to springboard yourself forward, because this is actually your sanctuary. This is where you feel the most grounded. So you want to keep it feeling safe and secure, so that when you do go into chaotic spaces, this is that safety in the storm. So if there was something that was, arguments or anything that you were kind of dealing with in that space, it's changing your communication around it so that you're dealing with things in a less combative way. So, again, looking at your deeper roots, looking at the ways that you look at spirituality, looking at how you connect to money, looking at how you connect to your early life is a good part of how you're going to be going forward. Saying to yourself, did you feel judged? Did you feel restricted? What were the ways? And again, playing with your hopes and fears and looking at them less from a rigid point and looking at them from a place of, yeah, that happened, but it's how I saw it in that moment. And now I'm seeing it differently. It helped me to grow. It helped me to become stronger. It helped me to, see my situation as the world is imperfect and I can actually live in chaos to a certain degree, and I can live in an imperfect way or with imperfect things around me and still move forward. Use it as your strength, and, instead of seeing it as just a storm. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. That's what I have for you, Cancer, for whenever you find this reading. And again, keep moving forward. Never give up. The world is a big game, and it's just about changing gears.